Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Creator News Live. I am so glad you're here. Once again, I have my good friend Paul Gowder on the show, and we always have a good time. And this is going to be a great show because we are talking all about being human in an AI world, which I've been reading all these articles, start of the new year. You know, stuff is happening in the news, Paul, with like Gmail and all this stuff going on. So we are going to dive into that today, but wherever you're watching from, make sure you ask your questions where we are, wherever you're watching from, like YouTube or Facebook, ask those questions. We'll pull them up on screen because we want to make the show all about you. We appreciate you being here. And we've already got our friend Zach Brown saying, hiya, fellas. Hiya, Zach. It is good to see you, my friend. We're going to be in Florida next week. So we'll have to try to see if we can hang out a little bit there. It's always good to see Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Network. Paul Gowder, how are you doing today?
I'm good. And I'm going to be completely human today because I'm still trying to get over the flu and this cough. So can AI even cough now? Maybe that'll make us more human today if I just have a coughing fit.
I think I could probably take it out into the script. So I think we'll be good. So thanks for Paul for coming in today. He's always chock full of great information, and we're going to have a great conversation. But I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we'll get started because we have a ton of things to talk about. So here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Creator News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. And this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and so much more. Have you ever wondered what it really takes to build a community that lasts? Maybe you're trying to figure out how to have deeper connections with your audience instead of just chasing numbers, or maybe you're just looking for a more sustainable way to grow your business without burning out. If any of that sounds familiar, you're in the right place, because today we are talking with a guest who is an expert at building and nurturing online communities. Long before it was trendy, Paul Gowder has spent the last 25 years growing powwows.com into a trusted home for connection, culture, and conversation. And he's learned a lot along the way. So he's visited hundreds of powwows around North America, and he's been able to capture those events and publish them to millions of viewers on his website and YouTube channel. And having experienced the trials and tribulations of running a successful online community for decades, Paul helps other entrepreneurs navigate successes and pitfalls of building online businesses through his public speaking and consulting services. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the real-world lessons he's learned, practical insights, and what creators should be focusing on as we head into 2026. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Creator News Live.
It's Paul Gowder, they say. He turns email into friends that stay. Fit your brand, the inbox way. It's Paul Gowder today.
That's right, folks. It is Paul Gowder here at Creator News Live. So, Paul, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation. We've been talking back and forth about this, and so much is changing right now. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and talk about how we can get over this AI stuff and be real.
Yeah. So something that is real is actually our sponsor of the show. Yes, that's right, folks. I have a real sponsor. You can find out more about them at ecam.com/Jeff. They are what make the show happen. They're the ones that have this technology that I'm actually broadcasting live, being able to pull up cool things on the screen, have Paul come in remotely. It's great for actually creating videos, all sorts of stuff. You can go to ecam.com/Jeff. Save 15% on your first purchase by using the code Jeff15. And by the way, they've got a creator camp coming up in the United Kingdom, overseas for us folks across the pond. You can find out more about that by going to tubefest.co.uk/creator-camp. Really easy URL. So just go to eCam. They have it there. But it's April the 23rd to the 24th in the United Kingdom. Find out more with that URL. But Paul Gowder, we are talking about being human in an AI world. It's a lot of stuff going on right now in the news. People are freaking out. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff. But I want to know from the audience, where do you feel the strongest connection with the creators that you follow? Is it on social media? Is it on email? Or is it live video? So I would love to know where you feel the strongest connection with the people you follow online. Is it social, email, or live video? I know Paul would probably say email. I'm a big live video and email fan, so we'll be talking about that. So we've got our friends showing up already. Rich Graham says, morning, gents, and Tech Troublemaker. Yeah, he got my tagline. And Rich Graham says, AI needs to give Paul a Roosevelt shirt. Paul has tons. He made the calendar. He's like an illustrated, like a Sports Illustrated calendar, but it's all Roosevelt shirts, and Paul is one of them. So very, very cool. And Tech Troublemaker says live video. That's where he connects with people. I would agree with that. I think we're going to have a resurgence of that. Paul, what do you think?
For sure. I think people are looking for ways to connect right now and to feel more human. Yeah, I think live video, live short form, or live on some of these platforms like TikTok and Instagram. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Yeah, I definitely am going to lean more into live video.
Yeah, in fact, Zach Brown says live video for him, immediate feedback, very, very cool, like what we're doing right now. And email is for that one-on-one conversation, and we are going to talk a lot about that today. But I wanted to kind of ask Paul, one of the things that has come across that I have seen kind of in the recent news cycle is Instagram. Adam Mosseri, I think is how you say his name. He said that like last month, right at the end of the year, where he was saying that polished curated feed is effectively dead because AI makes these perfect images, and they're making them easy and kind of uninteresting. So what do you think? What does this shift towards raw, unfiltered content mean for creators? Because that's what he said that's going to take precedent over on Instagram, is like the signals that show that it's real, it's raw, even bad lighting, all that stuff is going to be a signal now to Instagram that this is a real person, a real photo, whatever. So what do you think it means for creators who've kind of built their brand on this kind of published, this high quality, really polished content?
Yeah. Well, Instagram has never been a place for me. I've tried to go on Instagram, but when I'm scrolling that feed, all those perfect pictures, whether it's, people traveling or lifestyle content, whatever, it all looks too polished to me. So I never really got super into Instagram. So I think this is good news. I think it's going to level the playing field. Same thing like on YouTube. I produce some content for my personal stuff on YouTube, but I've always felt the overwhelm of doing anything other than live, because I feel like to compete with some of these other creators, you've got to have super polished video, and Ecamm helps with all that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have the multiple camera angles and all the graphics and be perfect. I think this is great news, because now every creator has a chance. It's going to be more about what you say, what you do in the content, as opposed to how it looks. So we're just one video away from going viral and having the same reach as, another big channel out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, Mosseri suggested that like raw and perfect posts, was going to be the proof that a real human is behind that content, at least for now, because he also said that is going to come along where the AI is going to be able to figure out how to make it look that way. So how do you think that creators can genuinely signal that authenticity without feeling like they're performing authenticity? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell it when somebody's faking it, and being real to be real for real sake. I think that's going to be, we'll see a lot of creators do that. But how can we not do that and just be ourselves and actually, use that when we're creating our content?
Yeah, I've been watching Gary Vee lately, and he talks about this a lot, is we have to stop, especially on these channels like Instagram and TikTok, is stop just posting. If we're, say, a Disney creator, or for me, email, every video can't be about that. People want to know more about you. And I think that's the way we're going to signal that we're authentic. So like for me, I'm posting content about bourbon. I'm posting my travel content, and then I may do some business content as well. I even had posted last night just a question about bingeable shows.
Yeah,
and within an hour, I had like 50 comments, because that's what people are looking for. I think they are tired of scrolling that perfect feed. And so that's the way that we, as creators that don't have the following of a Mr. Beast, that's how we're going to signal to these platforms that we're real, and to the people out there looking, is just posting more about ourselves and not just being a one-dimensional channel.
So let's talk about those trust signals that people are looking for, and like the identity when they build their audience. Like, if you see Paul live or he's at a conference, there's probably going to be a bourbon tasting. So that's his brand. I mean, that's part of Paul's makeup. And then the business stuff goes to that. And if you look at people like Jay Bear, who has loved tequila forever. Well, now his brand, and we've had him on the show before, which is a great episode, but now his brand is like, he does his marketing stuff. He still does his speaking thing, but now he's actually tacking on the end of his speaking gigs. Like, hey, I'm having a tequila tasting and the company's sponsoring it. And he's got private barrels now and all this stuff that is built on one of his passions that he's kind of merged into the Jay Bear brand experience. And so I think stuff like that is going to be kind of the next wave, is tying in the stuff you really like. I'm passionate about wood carving and creativity and that kind of stuff. And so like we're getting ready, Katie Fox from Ecamm and I are getting ready to start a new show where it's all about crafting, which is not really business and but it is me. And so that's going to help build the brand as well. So I think, what do you think of some other ways that people can do? Like, I don't think that people need to spread themselves too thin and like, hey, I'm going to broadcast all of my hobbies and things that I like to do, or every minute of my day. But what should we be doing to move people to know that we are real? I guess those trust signals, I guess. Like what do you think those trust signals are that we can do? Like, I think answering comments, I think responding to email, asking questions in your email, and then actually responding to those. What are some other ones you think of?
Well, first I want to say, like, your new podcast with Katie, I think is brilliant, because platforms like Facebook are now rewarding you for just posting good content with the whole content monetization program. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to come up with some kind of channel or a video podcast idea that's necessarily going to move people to some kind of funnel and sell products. Right. Now you're just getting rewarded for building good content. So I think that's really important as we start thinking about content in 2026. But we're in the relationship business, and we have to find ways to tell our story to be relatable. In some of my talks this year at conferences, I told the story about my first day at Boy Scout camp. And the whole point, one of the points for that is to find a way to relate to people in the audience. So after I tell the story, I was like, okay, who's a Boy Scout? Who went to summer camp? So we now have something in common. So when you find me in the hallway afterwards, we have something we can talk about, right? So I think, and that's what you can do by posting your wood carving. There's probably people out there that are wood carvers. Maybe they have a side hustle. Maybe they're wanting to build a business and would have never run across Creator News Live, but they may run across Jeff C., the wood carver, and then they go down this whole other rabbit trail and they buy Ecamm. The next thing you know, they're streaming. Right. So I think that's the thing, is we have to be relatable, tell our story. We don't have to, don't share your location and tell where you're going to be every minute of the day. But yeah, I mean, people want to know, if you're out there doing this, people want to know that I'm into Roosevelt shirts, or, I like bourbon, or I'm going on a Disney cruise. Those little things help build that relationship and build, some kind of relatable aspect of yourself. We have to start telling those stories.
And I think an important thing is it needs to be real. You're not doing it for engagement's sake, or you're not telling a certain story, trying to, those sympathy posts or those humble brag posts that we see. You can always tell the people who are fishing, like, hey, hit me in the DMs because I'm going to you're going to be hitting my funnel. I think it's more organic, like you were saying. Like, it's like, I like Ecamm. Here's the stuff. Like, when we're carving, we're going to have our Amazon links for, like, Katie's going to be doing crochet. She's going to have her links that you can buy that stuff and support her that way. I'm going to have the knives that I use and that kind of stuff. Like, that just seems kind of natural. And it's like, you're just helping people with your resources that you have. You're not so much marketing to them to get them into a specific funnel to drive them into, my newsletter, which is going to hit you every week about, a sale that I'm trying to do. That's not what we're doing. So I do want to kind of pivot to email communities. And I mean, you have helped me a lot, become more personal. In fact, I credit any of the growth I've had in email to a lot of stuff that you've taught me, because of, like, just being real. Like, my emails are they look like they're just sent, like, from Outlook or from Gmail. There's no artwork. It's just a conversation, which is by design, because I want it to be like that. You feel like you're getting just a friendly email from me. So how can email help creators build that relationship that like that those short form social platforms are now struggling with to actually, grow and actually have engagement on.
First, I want to say your emails are awesome. And I've heard people tell you that they didn't know it was a newsletter and they thought you were writing directly to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate, right? That's the goal, is that we are doing content in a way that people think we're sending it just to them. But I think you have to change your mindset about email and about community. So many creators and people out there think that community is the platform, and community is not that. There's probably people watching this video now that will never post a comment, may never go into your Facebook group and reply, but they watch the videos, they read your messages, and they still feel a bond and some kind of relationship with you. That is your community. Your community is all these people out here that engage with your content regardless of who they are. And email is one of those places. People that subscribe to your newsletter and read it every week, they feel like they're in your community, but they may never join your Facebook group, right? Mm-hmm. So community first, and really think about that when you write these emails. Talk directly to the person, be personal. Even like my weekly email is, here's our new articles, here's the upcoming powwows, here's the live stream that will be live tonight from Pechanga Powwow in California. Go check it out, powwows.com/live. Now, but yes, I put all that in, but the top of my email I reserve for me, where I can write a personal thing. And sometimes it is, even though it's powwows.com, I'll say, oh, hey, this week I'm heading down to Florida. I'm going to be speaking at PodFest. Kelly's going to go check out the parks and hang out with our daughter. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with friends. We're, might have going to go check out some restaurants. I'm going to put some of that in there, even though it's not about powwows, because I'm just telling that story and trying to be personal. And, ask a question. Hey, where are you heading this month? What powwows are you looking forward to? All that kind of stuff gets that engagement. Like Zach said earlier, it's the place where you can have one-on-one conversations, and we have to do the unscalable.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody told me recently when I was talking about email, they're like, oh my God, you ask questions in an email list with 100,000 people. Are you crazy? I was like, no, that's what's going to set me apart, because I'm not scared to ask people, and then I will reply to them. Now, I have systems and I have help to handle all of that influx, but that's how we set ourselves apart, is doing things that are unscalable. So yeah, if somebody replies to you and wants to continue that conversation, man, that's the ultimate, right? Now they've given you their time and they want to have that relationship with you. Hit reply and talk to them.
Yeah. And so you know how Lou he does this podcast. He always says, hey, my friend, because he wants to have that intimate thing with, like, I'm talking to you. You're the only one I'm in your ear. That's who I'm talking to. I've kind of copied that idea, and I have stopped calling, hey, join my email list. I'm saying join my email community, because that's what I really want to do. Yeah, and I think we all would probably start doing that. Like, hey, sign up, not for my newsletter, or say, sign up for my email community and join the conversation that we can have, one-on-one together, whatever, and have it that way. Because I think that's what I want people to feel like. It's a community that you join. And by the way, you can join that by going to jeffc.com/news. I probably should call it jeffc.com/community or something. But anyway, just go to jeffc.com/news. And then Tech Troublemaker says, there is a fine line between personal email and a cease and desist letter. That's very true. You got to be careful, because there is a paper trail when you do an email. But and Paul, Dustin says, I need a good bourbon recommendation. You have come to the right place. Actually, Paul is putting out some. What was the new little series you're doing on YouTube? That's going to be.
It'll start next week. It's going to be called. It'll be on my Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. It's going to be called Try January, because I have too many unopened bottles, and I'm going to open them up and give them a try. So look forward to that. Dustin, send me a message. I'll be glad to send you recommendations. I'm trying to think of a good one right now that's on the shelf that I would recommend. Austin. The cast drink stuff is great. Yeah, go find one of those.
Yeah, that's a Texas one, by the way.
Yep.
But when we were planning this show, kind of talking back and forth, Paul, you had said, this is kind of what you want to talk about, and here's all the reasons why. And you have some great examples of this, but you said you're seeing a demand for like analog. Katie and I, that's why we're doing and we actually are putting in our tagline analog, because a lot of people like on TikTok and Instagram are now searching for analog, like that keyword. So human-centered connection, live video. We've talked about community events, in-person meetups. They're increasing because of this AI saturation. So how should creators plan for that? Like this move towards analog, and give some examples. Like you were telling some of the stuff that you even gave your daughter because she was asking for it for Christmas.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that CES last week. I think I mentioned this to you. I saw that somebody is releasing a phone that looks just like a BlackBerry, and it's only going to have email, messaging, and calendar. No browser,
apps.
no apps, no nothing, because people are wanting to disconnect from that stuff. Yeah, my daughter this year, she asked for a CD player and CDs, which is not completely analog, but it's away from
Old
streaming.
school. Yeah.
It's old school. Yeah, she's actually hanging her CDs on the wall. And now, again, my daughter comes from hanging out with me as a kid, and all the photography I do, and the nice big digital SLR cameras I have, and she has one. She asked for a little small point and shoot camera because she wants to be off of her phone and do pictures that she feels like are more authentic. I'm seeing a lot more of that. And so how do we as creators embrace that? I think we have to start posting more and stop scripting everything, stop planning everything. I mean, we can still do that kind of stuff, but we have to just hit the record button and just post. And people are going to see that more. It's a struggle. I'm trying to post more content like that, and it's hard for me too.
Yeah.
But that's what people are looking for, is somebody just like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook Reels. They're just looking for somebody that's just real, whether you're out walking around or, I just got the Meta Ray-Bans because I feel like that's going to be a little bit easier way for
Right.
me to do more of that kind of content. Yeah, I think that's what people are looking for. And so we have to embrace that. Another one that I'm doing this year, and people have asked for this, which is crazy. I have several digital products on powells.com, and the demand for printed copies of them is huge. So I'm setting up my account with Lulu so that when somebody buys a digital print, they'll have the option to actually order a printed copy of it, which to me, again, is crazy because, like, if they want my Powell calendar, you're not going to have the links in it. Necessarily, right? There's no way to click on a printed version. So, but people don't want that. They want something they can hold in their hand. So yeah, as creators, we have to really think about that and figure out ways to get people outside of the norm. Before we hit record, we were talking about Gmail adding this AI feature.
Right.
I think it's going to be really helpful. And I like the idea of Outlook or Gmail or something summarizing my email, making sure I don't miss appointments, making sure I follow up with emails. But I also think I think people are going to revolt against it a little bit because they're going to miss that personal connection in their emails. And so, like, if my mom sends me an email asking me about something, if AI just sends me a summary saying, by the way, your mom mentioned so-and-so, I'm not going to want that, right? I want to actually reply and read that message.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see, as much as AI is helping us and making things more efficient, I think we're going to see that shift in 2026 of people wanting to be a little bit more isolated from AI and go back to the human. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? And I think Gmail may be making a mistake here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because there's already like roll up, and like I use SaneBox for mine,
right?
Which I don't want to like totally dismiss some of the the shopping stuff that comes out. Like you want to have a sale or something, but I don't want to see it every day or all the time, but I don't want to unsubscribe. So being able to move it somewhere else is helpful for me. But then I can have stuff like, I even saw Dustin came out today, like there's a new training on how to use a certain aspect of Magi. Like that stuff that I may not click on right away because, I was getting ready for a show and I couldn't watch it or go through his training. But I know that's there, and I don't want to miss that next time. So that needs to be still in my feed. So I think it's really interesting how that's going to work. Hopefully it won't be too heavy-handed, and the people you want to read, it's still easy to find. Yeah, I think that making sure that you are doing things that keep you top of mind also is like, hey, and you got to remember, like especially when we're talking about email, that not everybody is following you for the same reasons. Some people may, like they came in, they loved this show, or maybe they saw me speak, which are two different things. And so how can you continually drip stuff out to them that still makes sense to the people who signed up and who are your audience and that kind of thing. So it's very, very interesting that way. I do want to kind of move on to the next section because I want to ask this question of our audience, which is, what's a piece of content that generally changed how you think or work? It can be a YouTube video. It can be a book you've read. Like, what's a piece of content that generally changed how you think or work? Do you have anything off the top of your head there, Paul? For me, I think it was one of the guy who wrote Sahil Bloom, I think, is The 5 Types of Wealth. And one of the things he said is like, no one is coming to save you. That's one of the things he said. Is like, and that was really good. Like, and that like nobody cares. Like if like we're talking about trying some maybe new forms of content, to kind of be real for more people. And we worry a lot. A lot of people are not pressing that record button or the publish button because they're scared of what other people might think. And the reality is, and he goes into it a lot in his article, is that most people don't care. They're too worried about themselves. So we need to kind of let that go. So I think that was a big thing for me.
For me, it's been, I mean, like I said earlier, I've been listening to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk and talking about posting content and being more real. But for me, also recently, it's been some of these bourbon content or cruise content I've been posting on my personal. And I've always worried, one, that how people will think and, oh my God, what's he doing now? But two, like worried that I was just going to flood my friends and family with all this other content. And so watching some of this content I've put out in the last couple of months and looking at the demographics of it, Facebook is smart and they're figuring out. And so that has changed my mindset. I look at like my review of a Polite Pig that I posted recently. When I look at who saw that video, I think on Facebook, it's got like 3,000 views or something. It's not viral, but it's good for what my personal profile has. And it's like 70% of the people who saw that video are non-followers. Only like 25% are the followers. So my friends and family aren't going to get bombarded by me posting more bourbon content. Facebook is going to push that out. So that's one of the things that should change my concept, and just post more and let Facebook, Instagram, whoever figure out the distribution of it, and they'll take care of it.
Yeah, I think also it's important, and we're going to talk a little bit about offline events. Like we go to Momentum, that's how we met. We've gone to and spoke at the same conferences like CEX last year, and we're going to be at PodFest in a couple of weeks, next week actually.
Next week,
yeah. And one of the things is those relationships that you build makes a difference, I think, even online and how you connect online. So in fact, our friend Lindsay Dollinger is here. She's going, hey guys, and she loves Gary V, and then agreed. A lot of people are saying more, not to niche down, but more overall lifestyle posts. And it was really interesting because yesterday, I think Lindsay had posted something about, hey, what is important to you on a cruise line? Is it itinerary? Is it the cruise line? What is it? And if I wouldn't have known Lindsay and that would have come up in my feed, I wouldn't have answered, right? I was just like, but I was like, oh, she asked a question. We have a connection. I want to help her out and help her get some love on the post. And one of the ways to do that is to leave comments. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so I took, whatever amount of time and did that for her.
Right.
But it was because I have that relationship with Lindsay from meeting her at conferences, seeing her, being on her show. She's been on my show. So that makes a big difference. And I think we can't discount the actual one-on-one, even if it's a Zoom call, one-on-one, those type of things are really important for building this trust and authenticity that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And don't discount going to conferences and having those connections there. You never know you might meet somebody who's been a follower of yours or read your emails forever. And then that face-to-face meeting can change everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so we're talking about, what we need to do for the content that's changed the way we think or work. And we kind of mentioned that. But I read across this guy, and I've read his newsletter for a long time, and I never really kind of dove into it. But he had this great article, and he was talking about educational content. And one of the things, his name is Dan Koe, Koe, and says basic educational content is dead. And I thought, ooh, that's really interesting, because he was saying that because everybody can go and ask AI AI now how to do something. Like, hey, how do I create a funnel for my new product? Give me some, and it'll stick it out. So, so he was saying that these surface level tips that AI can generate, it's no longer going to cut through the noise, right? So he was talking about like what kind of content still holds that lasting value for audience. So what are your thoughts about that? Like, so what kind of content do you think is going to hold value for audience when they can ask AI, and it'll even bring up YouTube videos on like, hey, I need to help. What does this thing do on my toilet? I can take a picture of it, and they'll say, oh, it's this, and here's how you fix it. It'll just do it for you. So I may not go watch or read an article from a YouTuber or whatever to figure that out because I can just ask AI now. Thoughts on that, Paul?
Yeah. First of all, for somebody who's created lots of content over the years in the native world with craft tutorials and what is a powwow, all that kind of thing, it scares me to death because the traffic continues to decrease because of AI. But I think the way we cut through that noise is creating content that not just teaches a lesson, but shows what that lesson meant to us. So we have to, again, tell story. You have to, instead of just teaching somebody how to build a sequence in a newsletter, I have to show them what building a sequence did for me and why, and even maybe like, here's a mistake I made and here's how it, affected things. And here's what I learned from it. It's showing our flaws, showing our actual experiences, and not just having a webinar teaching a topic because people don't need that now. So I think it is us showing the whole part of it, right? And showing why it was important.
Yeah. So, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be a real struggle because it's a new muscle that we're having to like strengthen and do. It's not just like, here's how to do this. Like, here's how to use AI to create these awesome images. But I should take it deeper. Like, okay, how can I use AI to create images that help me become more creative? Or I use this image that I generated to create a new piece of art that I use. Like, let's say I used AI to create me a pattern that I'm going to use for a wood carving that's never been done before. Then I can take that and actually make it physically using AI as a tool to do it. But then go deeper in like, okay, I'm taking that, but then I'm improvising and making it in a new medium, or I'm twisting it up this way, or this is what I discovered. I tried it, and because it was AI generated, it didn't work because it just broke, those kind of things. I think you're right, that we're going to have to take it deeper and show what it means to us and what's the transformation that's going to happen for, the people who you're giving advice or teaching on how to do it. So it's going to be a different thought.
Yeah. One of the ways you can do that, I think, too, is start thinking about how you can serialize your content. So again, like my Try January, but another series I'm working on is on the business side is I'm going to do a challenge for myself of building my online community from 0 paid members to 100 paid members by the end of the year. And I'm going to be very real with it and show people like the mistakes I've made. The first video is going to be about that I've built this platform and I have a lot of people in the free, but I don't have anybody in the pay because I never talk about it. And you have to be intentional. So that's going to be the first thing, right? And showing that, I don't put it in my newsletter. I don't put it in my talks. So, and that's the kind of thing I think that people are going to relate to is showing your story and showing that we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers, but here's how I'm learning.
Right. And everything's different for a bunch of, for different people. So, showing your mistakes can actually help people, not make the same mistakes later on. One of the things, this is from Sean from But Mostly Disney, says, people love my mistakes to the point that I made it into a t-shirt and part of my brand. I think that's genius. Like, because you are going through something that people want to get where you're at. And if they see the mistakes you make, that just endears them to you so much more. And I think, like, once again, I'm going to go back to live because I'm going to screw up the way I say things. I'm going to, pronunciate things wrong. And AI can't do that. They can't, it's not going to be able to do these things. It's not going to be able to pull up comments and know that I've seen, Sean at Momentum the last 3 times, Dustin. And, I was back when he used to wear his red V-neck everywhere. Like, I know these people. And so we have this connection. and live just, I think, is a way to bring people together. So I'm going to continue
Yeah.
to think that's going to just really hold value as we move forward. But speaking of value, because this, the surface level stuff won't cut through, and value is shifting from generic takeaways to kind of some of these behavior changing content. Like, we want you to make this change in your behavior because of what we're teaching you. How do you think creators can identify and deliver that deeper value? Like, what signals tell you a piece of content is really and truly impactful?
Oh, this is tough. But I think we have to start looking past those vanity metrics and not worrying if our piece of content got 10,000 views or 100,000 views or whatever. I think that's still important to watch and know like what's hitting and what the algorithm loves from you. But now we have to start looking at how it affects other people. And that's tougher on social media, which is why I love email, because when I ask a question or when I put something out and I get replies and people tell me directly in an email because I've built that relationship with them, that's one of the ways that I know that I actually put something out as value. So I think it's important to start asking for feedback more as you build that trust in that relationship, and start watching the open rates, the click-through rates, all that kind of stuff. But as I say in some of my talks, replies are greater than a click. So look for ways that you can get feedback.
Yeah. So getting feedback is one of the best ways and one of the hardest ways personally to, like, we get really defensive when we get feedback, but that should be a signal for us to really like, okay, that's a thing to learn from and actually become better. It's hard. It's not natural because, our lizard brain jumps up when we start getting attacked. We feel like we have attacked. We have to either fight or run away. And so training yourself to really listen and pull nuggets. You don't have to take everything, but pull those nuggets of, oh, you know what? I should have been clearer on that point. That would have made more sense. And just kind of take it to heart and internalize it a little bit and not worry about getting so defensive. And I'm talking to myself here.
Well, and building a relationship with your community and your readers that they feel they feel that they can email you something like that or message you. So you have to be more inviting and more open, or otherwise you're not going to ever get feedback. For just recently, I've had several people email me some things I messed up as we were the new year. I still had like 2025
Right.
listed on the website in several places, and I'm very, very thankful that my readers think enough of me to message me. If I see a mistake on a website, I don't know that I'm going to message the people from the website and correct them. But I've built enough relationship with folks that they were like, "Hey, Paul, by the way, you need to fix this before other people see it." I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah. That is always good to have friends that are watching your back. One of the things that Dan Coe from this article, once again, I think he's on Substack. That's how I found him. He does really long form articles, but he emphasizes learning how to learn is going to be super important, and that no single skill will save you, but learning quickly matters. And this goes back to, Pat Flynn's book, and we saw him speak about it at Crafted Commerce last year, Lean Learning, which is a great book. So what do you think are some practical routines or mindsets that creators should adopt to stay, adaptable in 2026?
I think we do need to realize the mindset now, and us as creators have to do this too. Instead of maybe subscribing to a podcast and listening to every episode, we maybe need to be more selective and go listen to an episode of a podcast that helps you with what you're working on right now. Same thing with YouTube channels. I think when we have a skill, and this is what Pat talked about when we saw him at Craft and Commerce, is if I need to learn how to do something in email, I'm going to go find that, maybe use AI, maybe use whatever, and I'm going to go learn that skill right now. And so we have to think about that and build our content and be prepared for people to not digest every single piece of our content, but they're going to be looking for needs. So I think that's like building content pillars is going to be real important. That's one of the things a lot of SEO people are talking about now, that AI and Google is now looking for a page that I think the example I saw on a video yesterday, like if you are reviewing shoes that you have here's my overall review of shoes, but here's my page on running shoes, here's my page on hiking shoes, here's my page on walking shoes, and they all relate to each other. That's the kind of stuff we have to start building, is these content pillars, so that when people do have a need, they can find that piece of content easily and then see all the other stuff related to it. Because I know for me, I don't subscribe to podcasts and listen to every episode anymore. I don't have the time, because because I'm not commuting anymore, but now I'm being very selective on what I listen to.
Yeah. And I think for me, and this goes back to learning how to learn, is my thing is to read books, but maybe not in your like marketing niche, or, you know, like for now I'm diving into books on creativity, which got me into, some other types of books and even some fiction novels that I'm reading, all those stuff. That's all goes into your mind that you can share with your audience by coming up with new connections between different things. Like, you're a big Star Wars fan. You could pull stuff because you love Star Wars, and talk about that. Like Mike Alton does a great job in his newsletters where he's a big history buff. And so he'll pull stories from history to teach a lesson about like marketing or branding or something like that, which I find really interesting because I like history too. And so there's a connection that we have in that way as well. So I think thinking about ways and not being scared to waste time on going down some of those paths that interest you, that you can make connections and share with your audience later. I think that's one of the things that it's going to really help moving forward to become more real, more authentic, is finding new ways to combine things up. Like we talk about repurposing all the time, but like repurposing ideas that may be from like one of my clients makes chocolates. So what kind of things about like tempering chocolate could I bring in and share with my audience that would make sense to them, that might teach them something new and something that hasn't been done before? Because given AI's flood of this generic content, like how do you think creators should rethink their content calendars? Like instead of those 5 tips posts and doing some more long form storytelling or analysis, like you do a great job with putting your stuff about. I remember I was reading things that that are offensive that I did not know about to Native Americans, like some terms that have been appropriated and all that stuff. Like that was really great for me because I had no idea, and you had it all in one spot. So how can we create stuff like that in our content and our storytelling analysis, or what say you when we're creating our content?
Yeah. I mean, I think some of those videos, like the 5 tips on, eCam or things like that are still good. And I think people will listen. What I'm thinking about, especially on Facebook, is do we remember when we first started posting on Facebook, everybody was posting a picture of what they ate that day. They were posting, hey, by the way, I just went for a walk. Hey, I just went and watched this TV show. I don't think we're going to go back quite to that, but I think we're going to go back to, hey, I stayed up tonight and I watched the latest episode of The Pit, and this scene was really cool and it connected with me because of this. What did you think about it? I think it's that kind of more off the cuff content that we have to start thinking about and posting more, and then mix in our more planned out, more professional type content. Because if we post just the beautiful content, I just don't think it's going to resonate with people. They're going to scroll past it if that's all you post.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a pit watch party for season 2 at Podfest, because I think it comes out that week when we're there.
It started last night.
Oh, it did. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm out of here.
We didn't watch it yet either.
Yeah. So here's a great example of taking something and then kind of taking it to the next level or repurposing it and doing something. This is from Sean from But Mostly Disney. He goes, I also ran a contest because I'm a terrible proofreader for folks, and they found his mistakes. So the person who found the most mistakes got a free t-shirt. So that's a genius way of activating your community, getting something done you needed to be done, but also acknowledging, hey, I am a big fat failure at spelling and proofreading. I need your help. So I think that's genius, Sean. Thank you for sharing that. So, we talked about value shifting and, that kind of things, but I want to know, Paul, what does building this unique point of view look like in practice, especially for, like, let's say a lot of creators are doing the, like, hey, here are 5 tips to do this. those listicles that they used to do. So how can you help creators transition from just doing informational posts to that transformational type of content? You're muted.
Sorry, I was having that coughing fit. So I go back to what I was, I'm watching Gary Vee talk about that instead of niching down, you are the niche. And so we have to draw upon what brought us here, how we got here. We all have a particular background. We all have a particular point of view. And if somebody's following you or reading your content, it's because they have related to you in some way. So you have to start leaning into you. I loved when we were at Momentum, and the lady from Cake Bake, she said she is unapologetically audacious, right? And I think we have to lean into that. And somebody at CEX said, "Embrace your crazy." I think was what they talked about, or embrace your uniqueness. Yeah, if you are super into wood carving, I think you need to talk about that more. If you are a big sports fan and you're, follow the Eagles, Rich from Pennsylvania, I think
Yeah.
he's a big Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Talk about that more. It doesn't have to be your entire identity, but you have to start sharing those kinds of things. I think it's going to be more about you as a person now instead of just your content.
So I think there's a line, I think we need to discuss this, between being audacious and obnoxious, right?
Yes,
there is
sure.
a fine line between the two. And I think being excited, like I'm always excited about Ecamm, and they sponsor the show and they're amazing, and I'm friends with a lot of them. And it started because it was just a great product, and then it evolved to something else. And I think people realize, like when I go, hey, go to ecamm.com/Jeff, it's because I genuinely like the product and I genuinely like the people. I like the community. They're great for me on the show. I'm like I said, I'm friends with most all of them, and it's organic. And so I think that's really important for people to see. And hopefully I'm not, obnoxious, maybe a little, because they're a sponsor of the show and I need to mention them. But it's more out of love and then it works for me than just, hey, I'm just like, hey, go to audible.com because I need the money kind of a thing. It's more of like, I really like this product. You should check it out if you haven't before. So that's, I think, one of the things we have to be careful of, is not being obnoxious, but you can be audacious and talk about things that you really, really like.
Speaking of Ecamm, that reminded me, I met Brandon Washington at Creator Camp this year. Go follow him on Facebook, because I think he does a really good job of posting about his video production and his, kind of his processes and his workflows, which are brilliant, but he mixes it up with, he's a big LSU fan. So he's posting a lot about LSU football and college football. Go follow him. He does it in such a way that it's really good and engaging, even if you're not an LSU fan, and not being oh my God, another piece of content about college football. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He's doing a really good job with it.
Yeah. He was a great speaker too. That was a lot of fun to see him speak.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk in this last section about email, community, live video stuff. We've kind of touched on a little bit, but I want to know, let me know in the comments wherever you're watching from, because this is really interesting to me, because there's always ones I can find. Are you part of any online community that you actually are active and participate in? Like, not just a stalker, not just like you signed up for this Facebook group and you haven't gone back in, but like one you really participate in. There's a couple for me, like Momentum. I don't dive in there as much as I should, but I usually see all that content. I try to make Lou thing when he does it, and I'm free on Wednesday. Steve Jackson, Saturday, I'm always usually there watching his show about podcasting. It's a live show like this one. I just really like the people there, and I learn something every day. Sean, when I see him stuff, and he's usually doing it at night but mostly Disney. I like to watch his content. He's got a great show. Your stuff, of course, your newsletter from Powwows and On the Go, your personal branding kind of community. And then like Jay Klaus, I'm in his mastermind as well. So those, I mean, there's all sorts of them, but those are kind of the ones that I'm like actively, I think, participating in. What about you, Paul? Are there certain ones that you're...
Definitely Lou's the hub, which is people that have been to Momentum. That Facebook group is really good. I enjoy going in there. I'm in a couple of Facebook groups from Mediavine, which is the people who provide the advertising and sponsorship for my website. There's a couple of really good community Facebook groups for that. But also, like, so inside of the Mediavine Facebook group, a smaller group of us formed a mastermind. And so over on my own community, we have a place for discussion, and we meet on video every other week. And that has been super, super great for that. It's like 15 of us that we can engage and kind of have
cool.
discussions and stuff. I love doing that. So think about that too. Like, if you go to conferences or you're engaging with people, don't be afraid to, form your own mastermind or your own little private Facebook group. These things can be super powerful.
Yeah, I've been a part of a mastermind with Eric Fisher and Anthony Witt since we went to PodFest San Diego back in we've been doing it for over 10 years. Like, it's almost 15 years now. Every Monday we meet. So
Awesome.
don't be scared and go looking for it. And Paul does a great job of this when he goes to conferences. Like, he's got a plan. He's just not showing up like me. He goes and has a plan of who he wants to meet with, the conversation he wants to have. So make a plan. Like, when you go to your next conference, like, hey, and it doesn't have to be like, say you're going to be a 10-year or 15-year commitment. You can say, like, hey, let's do it for like 2 months and see if it gels. If not, it's okay to disband. It's not a big deal. But there's a lot of power that comes from meeting together. So on this last section, I wanted to ask you, because of your experience with powwows.com, because it really does, that community shows the enduring power of a community that people really want to be a part of. So in a world where platforms are like noisier, Facebook groups is a mess, a lot of this AI driven stuff is kind of getting crazy. Why is community still a core differentiator for creators, and especially your business, Paul?
Community has always been the heart of powwows.com, whether it was in the old days, and Lou and I always reminisce about vBulletin in the old days of forums, or when we moved to Facebook and we have Facebook groups now, or email. Community has always been that thing that continued to bring people back. So again, I think you have to change your mindset of what community is. Community is not a platform. Community is people who feel some type of connection with you and your content. And like recently, I've opened up for powwows.com. We have a Mighty Networks community now.
Mm-hmm.
And our Facebook group, our Facebook page, 1.6 million followers. Our Facebook group, our main one, 130-ish thousand people. I think we'll hit 300 people on our Mighty Networks community this week, probably. The engagement on that, I'm already seeing, blows away the Facebook group, because Facebook groups were great when they started, and there's still some good ones. Like we just mentioned some good ones,
right?
But as they get big, you don't get notifications. You don't feel as authentic inside of them.
And you'd rather have those 300 highly active members in your group than that big monstrous. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's been really cool. And so, like, I missed a few days of going into the community when I had the flu and wasn't feeling good, but seeing the app on my phone just like tick, and okay, there's 15 notifications, there's 20 notifications, there's 30 notifications. I'm like, wow, people are still talking and they're having connections. And even the feedback I'm getting, because I've been asking them, because we've only been open 2.5 months, is like, how is this for you? What do you like about it? And everybody that responds is saying, we feel like we're having real conversations here. Mm-hmm. So people are looking for that. Again, the AI, the polished, going back to my daughter, she wants that CD player. And I think it's because she's tired sometimes of just streaming. Yeah. She wants that more tangible feel. And that's what some of these communities can do for you.
Yeah, I think that's really true. It's funny because speaking of our community here on to this show, Dustin says, you guys inspired me so much, I'm writing an email to my community right now. So there you go. That's great,
Love
Dustin. One of the things that, we kind of touched on the live content and like these raw streams, interactive Q&A, and we're testing it right now. Both Paul and I guess now you can actually stream vertical on YouTube Shorts by clicking a button. So if you're over on YouTube and you see us on Shorts on your phone, we'd love to know if that's working, because I have no idea. But those unpolished moments are kind of resurging. So what format changes are you seeing that help live content? Like, because you do live streaming, you live stream all your powwows. What do you think helps live content feel more meaningful and less just like another polished broadcast that you could get on, the cable channels?
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking a lot about. Our powwow live streams aren't going to change a whole lot this year because there's only so many. It's an event production, right? So there's only so many ways we can show a powwow. Um, but for like the show I do on a weekly basis, I'm changing how I do that. It used in previous years, I tried to do a show where I had different segments, and I waited until I had an interview or some kind of topic to put an episode out, and wanted it to be that more produced thing. And so in 2026, I'm committing on powwows.com. I'm just going to go live once a week and just talk with the community. I'll have like, here's what's happening this week. Here's the changes, the kind of thing, but it's going to be more of just an open forum. And then if I have an interview or a guest or something, a special piece of content, I'll put that out as a separate video. So I'm going to use live now I'm really switching it to be, like our friend Lou does. He does a live show every Wednesday night. It's not polished. It's not produced. It's not his podcast episode. It is
Right.
a different piece of content where he just engages with the community. And so I'm looking to do more of that this year too.
Yeah, he has structure. Like he's not just turning on
Sure.
and guessing. He's got like a plan what they're going to talk about, and he actually pushes that out when he has his post about the live show. So you have to have some structure, but you don't have to be like okay, here's a wipe, and now this segment and this. Now I do segments because it's easy for me to repurpose, and it keeps my crazy brain in line. But we go off so much. Connor will tell you that like all the time. And then one of the things, this is a great point from Sean. He goes, I think my favorite thing is when I'm doing the live podcast and the chat starts having their own conversations. It just makes me feel like we're a real group and everybody is hanging out. I think that's the goal for anything. The ones that I mentioned, like Dave Jackson's show, that is true. It happens on this show. I mean, Rich and some other people were talking a minute ago. So I think it's really, really cool when that stuff's happened. But this last question before we wrap things up, it's kind of your bread and butter. It's email. And email is often described as the one place where creators own the relationship. So in terms of authenticity and relationship building, how should email strategies kind of evolve in 2026?
It's the same thing I've been saying for the last year. Stop focusing on what you're going to send out for your weekly broadcast. Stop focusing on, I feel like some of these weekly broadcasts that people send, they're just shouting at their audience. Here's my newest podcast episode. Go listen to it. Here's my newest YouTube video. Go listen. Here's my newest blog post. Go read it. And we have to shift to like the emails you're writing. We have to start writing emails like we're having conversations. It doesn't have to be this polished thing. It can be, right? But like for me, I'm putting this thing at the top where it's my personal note. Mm-hmm. That's what people are looking for. And they don't want to get another email from Amazon telling them, hey, I think you would like, these are related products. Yeah. Like you said earlier. Yeah. I still want those in my inbox. And when I need them, I'll go look for them. But God, if people start seeing my newsletter as something that they're just going to store in a folder and they'll go read it when they need it, we've failed, right? Mm-hmm. It needs to be this relationship type email so that people want to read it when it comes out. We really have to shift that. And so instead of focusing on your broadcasts, and if you do, write them conversational and be more text-based. Right. But I really think that the key here is focusing on building more sequences, building more opportunities to take people through an entire story. Like I was working with some people this week on how to build a sequence. And what is a sequence? It's just a serialized piece of email that you use Kit or whoever to build this series of emails. But if you're struggling with that, just go to ChatGPT and put your website in and say, hey, build, what kind of sequences can I build? So like our friend Connor Brown does a great job. He's building some incredible email series around his content. He had the series about Halloween Horror Nights, and it had a PDF that went with it, but it was a series of emails where he talked about Halloween Horror Nights. I think he's doing one about cruising now. if you can build these things that provide value in a series of emails where you're talking conversationally, where you're telling, hey, here's my experience on a cruise and here's why I think you should do this and this, that's going to be much more engaging and keep readers opening your emails, keeping them in that list more than just shouting at them, I have a new podcast, go listen to it.
Yeah. The other thing is, don't be afraid, like we've talked earlier, to ask questions, right? Like Paul does a great job of that. And, it's not overwhelming. Sometimes you won't get any answers, and sometimes you'll get a bunch, and you're like, okay, why did that resonate? So take note of that when it does resonate, and like, okay, what kind of questions or what kind of topics do I need to talk about that is going to activate them like I just did. So that's one of the things Paul taught me, is that don't be scared to ask questions in your email, because people want to talk. They want to tell you what they think. So make sure you guys do that. So this has been awesome, Paul. As always, so much more we could have talked about, but I want to give you a chance to let people know where they can follow you, find you, all the stuff that you have going on. So the floor is now yours.
Thanks. So if you are looking to go to your first powwow, they're open to the public. I always tell people this, please go visit. It is a complete cultural immersion, and the public is welcome. So you can check that out over at powwows.com/powwow101. And since I mentioned that I am trying to build my community, go check that out at onthewaycommunity.com. If you want to just know more about me, paulgowder.com is where you can go and learn more about what I'm doing. And if you're at PodFest next week, come find us. I'd love to connect.
Yeah, Paul and I both will be there. It's going to be awesome. So for you guys listening, paulgowder.com, Gowder spelled GOWDER.com. So go check him out. And once again, I would love for you guys to sign up we talked about email, for my email, and join the email community we have over there at jeffc.com/news. Good stuff coming this year. I've got some great ideas and articles that are already in the works. So make sure you guys go to jeffc.com/news. And thank you to our sponsor, Ecamm. Find out more of them. You can go to ecamm.com/Jeff. You can save 15% on your first purchase by using code Jeff15. They're amazing. Check them out on Facebook, their groups. They're very, very helpful if you have any questions. And also you can ask me any questions you have as well through my email or wherever. I'll be more than happy to answer those. But ecamm.com/Jeff. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Sean, Dustin, everybody who stopped by, asked questions. Thank you, Paul, for being here. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.